Up next, we are going to talk about Trump's big, beautiful speech. Um, yeah, so I watched a little bit of it. I honestly didn't watch that much because it really just felt like the parts that I did see felt like uh, all the same shit we've heard a million times. So it was completely pointless. And I thought maybe I could just watch it on stream afterwards, but then I don't know. I figured this will be good enough. We're watching this. This analysis from Barry Weiss's own CBS News. Um, they have their takeaways from Trump's primetime address on the Iran war. If they could take anything away from that, hey, I'm gonna be leaning on them a lot because I did not take anything away from that. So let's go ahead and watch them. We'll see what they have to say.
And welcome back to CBS News 24/7. I'm Juliette Goodrich. President Trump giving an update on the war with Iran. I want to bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe to talk more about that. Ed, if you're there, I just want to get your initial thoughts on the substance of the speech.
Well, Jules, this was designed, according to the White House at least, to be an update on what was going on and some sense of the way forward. And if you're someone who has not been paying close attention or not listening directly to the president, yes, it probably did provide you some sense of a refresh. But for
not for all my Claytriots out there, we all knew, we already heard all this stuff a whole bunch because we watched lots of press conferences.
Those that have been following this closely here in the United States, around the world, there wasn't much new in this address, and even his suggestion of how much longer this could take, saying it'll end shortly and then suggesting 2 to 3 weeks, as he often does for many things he does, not necessarily a firm commitment to an end date by any means. And that
hey, originally it was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks, and we're almost at the 5-week mark. So, you know, he's got essentially one more week to wrap this whole thing up, or else I'm going to have to start calling him a liar. And I'm sure he wouldn't like that very much. So, you know, get cracking, Donald Trump. We got to finish this war ASAP.
Comparison of this 32-day conflict so far to wars that lasted several years, clearly designed to minimize and assuage the concerns of people who...
Yeah, and every single one of those wars that lasted years, you want to know what they were saying at the 4 to 6 week mark? They're saying, guys, it's only going to be another 2 to 3 weeks and then we're done. That was what they all said in all of those wars that lasted decades. So you'll forgive me if I'm if I'm a little bit skeptical that this is going to end up being some sort of short war. Like all of the troop movements make me think that we're still going to do boots on the ground, even if he is like backtracking on a lot of stuff. I just don't think that they would move all of those troops there if it wasn't going to happen. And so, and as soon as that starts, because I have a feeling it's going to go pretty badly, who knows, maybe it'll go great, but I have a feeling it's going to go pretty badly. And a bunch of our troops are going to die. And then they're going to use that to then justify a long-term ground occupation, just like Iraq, except way, 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 way harder. So, you know what, we'll see what happens. Who knows? He's a tricky guy to read sometimes, Donald Trump.
Are concerned that this is going to continue for quite some time in an open-ended way and potentially begin to really cost Americans, at the gas pump and then elsewhere. As he said, again, reiterated that he has always, since he began his political career about 11 years ago now, called for the end of Iran's nuclear ambitions, and reiterated tonight that that is a big focus of this ongoing conflict. Of course, that was the point of the military strikes on Iran last summer, when he insisted that their nuclear capabilities had been
blown to smithereens, back to the Stone Age. They went back to the Stone Age, everybody, and then they time traveled right back to now. I don't know how they got back. They got all those nukes back, but they did. So we had to do it again, everybody. Like, honestly, that's kind of what it feels like.
Completely destroyed. Now suggesting that, in fact, that is part of the ongoing mission, as well as destroying Iran's conventional military capabilities, which he says now have been almost completely destroyed. One other little bit of news that I heard.
They're almost destroyed. They're still doing a hell of a lot of damage, man. Those Gulf states, they're getting hit hard. And their accuracy just keeps going up. They're getting more direct hits every single day. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like they're getting even like more capable as time goes on, as opposed to less capable, which is interesting, given what they're saying and given how much we're bombing them, and at like such a rapid pace that we're bombing them, according to Pete Hegseth. It's weird that they're still able to hit more and more targets over time. Almost like they're not degrading at all. But yeah, I mean, that would just be what my analysis would be.
Have been almost completely
What do
destroyed.
I
One
know?
other little bit of news that I heard, or that our team heard, certainly in this address, is he's now suggesting that as many as 45,000 Iranians were killed in protests in the weeks before this military conflict.
Dude, I've been joking about this so much lately because I've always thought it was ridiculous, but like, it's unironically, they are doing my joke. Like, they are doing my joke. My joke is that it started at 1,000 protesters, and then it went up to 3,000, and then it went up to 5,000, and then it went up to 20,000, and then it went up to 30,000. And then I said, next it's going to go up to 50,000, then it's going to be 100,000, then it's going to be 1,000,000, then it's going to be 20 million, and then it's going to be like the entire population. 90 million protesters were all mowed down by Iran. Like, that, he's literally doing my joke. Stop, get your own fucking material, Donald Trump, seriously. But man, that's like so funny to me.
Began at one point several weeks ago, he had told us it was about 30,000. So that assessment has now increased. How they got to that number and where in that vast country did this occur are questions that we'll be asking.
Okay, you don't have to, dude. We know that he's just lying. Like, it's always so funny to me that reporters have to like pretend, like they have to go up here and pretend like they don't know that he's just lying. Like, we all know that he's lying. This is why they lose so much of their credibility, because they're not allowed to just go up there and just blatantly say the truth that he's lying about it. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of funny. And they're doing that because they're scared of him, which again makes you lose all of your credibility. So you know, if you want to be taken more seriously, if you want to get more viewers and stuff, you can't be doing shit like that. You have to be truthful, like me. That's why people come and watch me instead of you guys, right?
Certainly in the coming hours and days. But otherwise, this was, you know, essentially a refresh or a modest attempt at updating. And there was very little conversation as well, Jules, I would argue, about the fact that gas prices have hit record highs now for the first time in 4 years, above $4 a gallon. Often in these instances, when the polling starts to show that things are going poorly for a president, they want to take advantage of this opportunity, addressing the country, getting the airtime to do so from the broadcast networks, to sort of say, I feel your pain, I understand your concern. But he suggested again,
That's not how he operates, buddy. Do you think that Donald Trump has ever felt empathy in his entire fucking life, or even pretended to feel empathy? Like, most of our politicians don't feel empathy whenever like something bad is happening to somebody else, right? They're all like snake lizard people who have never felt a real emotion since they got into power. But like, Donald Trump is like even worse. Like, he is so narcissistic. I don't think he's ever once in his entire life felt empathy. So it's no wonder that he's unable to like articulate how bad he feels, like, or like how he understands the pain of the American people. He doesn't even try to say that. It's like they feel so insulated from the actual, you know, will of the people, because our democratic system is so broken that they don't even have to like pretend anymore like they care about the plight of the average American.
term pain for a long-term investment, and that is future security of your children and grandchildren. Polling that we've been discussing all night and that we've seen in recent days continues to suggest most Americans are not willing to shoulder this short-term pain, in part because they believe the president hasn't properly explained himself.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the polling stands now after this. Ed O'Keefe, Ed, thank you so much. Let's now bring in J.D. Simpkins, editor-in-chief of the Military Times and also a Marine and veteran of the Iraq
Military
War.
Times.
We spoke to you before.
I think I've read the Military Times before. I think that they give more like inside baseball stuff when it comes to like the conduct of war and our troops and stuff. I think that they're relatively neutral as far as I know. They don't really have like super crazy biases. Like, I'd say they're like generally pro like military industrial complex or whatever, but like no more than any other magazine. And sometimes they have people who are against like war because they do have like vets and stuff who write for it. So and vets tend to have a like I think a worse opinion of war than like the average, the average American hog who like I don't know, goes like gets a hard on when he thinks of of like sending in our troops to go brutalize brown people abroad or whatever. So but anyway, yeah, let's see what he has to say here.
Or the president addressed the nation. So now let's talk to you after the fact. What are your big takeaways from the speech?
I don't really have any takeaways. It's quite honestly, I think there was, a lot of weaving and not necessarily a real speech in terms of what we just heard. There's,
he did speak. He did speak. It was a real speech. It's just there was just nothing there.
As Ed mentioned, citing 2 to 3 weeks is kind of the go-to move. So I mean, there hasn't been any real clarity from the beginning, and I don't think anybody listening to that speech came away from it thinking that there's any more clarity right now on the immediate horizon.
Yeah, for the timing of this speech, all of us asking why tonight, there really wasn't a lot of clarity and not clear objectives. No,
there wasn't. And as we discussed previously, he did go into some of the military successes, but those successes, while impressive from a military standpoint, do not equate to strategic outcomes. So, depending on...
That's like the nature of all Western warfare at this point. It is all tactical, never strategic. It's like the same thing happened with Israel and Gaza. Like it was all tactical, no strategic. Like Hamas is stronger now than they were when they started. And like same with like Hezbollah, it feels like while politically slightly weakened, seems to be stronger now than they were whenever Israel started. So it's just like all about like tactical like operations that never like because to achieve an actual strategic vision for any of these types of things, you have to have a political will to understand the other. And that's just like and like like diplomatically operate with them as to at least in some regard as equals. And if you can't do that, then I feel like there's no way to really have any sort of strategic victory, because you're never going to compromise on anything. And then, yeah, that's just a recipe for quagmire. But, oh, hey, Mem. Yeah, you haven't missed too much. I just started like 30 minutes ago, I think. 30 minutes on the dot.
How long this runs, what type of troops might be involved, or what the exit strategy is. I think you're still going to see a prolonged conflict in the Strait of Hormuz that could last a lot longer than anybody is discussing right now.
Did anything surprise you?
No, I would say that it was a little bit of surprise that there was how little substance there was to some of it. I think some of us were at least expecting the teeter to go one way or another in terms of potentially discussing boots on the ground or discussing, just claiming victory.
See, that's what I was expecting, because everybody and their mother was making this out to be like, this is going to be the big speech, right? Where we're finally going to know what direction Donald Trump is going to go. If he's going to go boots on the ground or if he's going to tuck his tail and run, right? Like everybody was prepared for that. And like nothing happened. And I think that like there must have been like he must have just really messed up the messaging on this, because if he didn't, like it shouldn't have been a primetime address. This is no different than like a normal like sit down sort of like press conference type speech or something that he could have just had in the Oval Office or something and just had some reporters there. He shouldn't have made this a primetime address. I think that's where he like made a huge mistake. Unless he was intentionally trying to like, I don't know, like freak the markets out for more insider trading deals for him and his pedo elite billionaires or whatever. Maybe that's what he was trying to do by, pretending like this address was going to be some big announcement. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a very easily fixed mistake that he did here.
In a way that would allow them to, pat themselves on the back a little bit and withdraw troops, which right now I think a lot of people are viewing as a bad outcome, but it's not the worst outcome. So we still don't know what the outcome is going to be, because I don't think there was anything that showed one way or another.
So let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz and the rising cost of oil and gas prices. He did mention that. He acknowledged it, but he didn't really provide much timeline or comfort in terms of prices going down. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't. And I think if the U.S. and if President Trump wanted to walk away from the strait entirely, as we've discussed, this doesn't necessarily mean any conclusion to the conflict. I would expect to see a protracted one, whether it is Iran using one-off attacks on cargo shipping or higher intensity prolonged.
Well, like, if we walked away right now, Iran would just keep doing what it's doing towards the Gulf and Israel. And I think because, like I said before, they've already achieved sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz through military means. So there's nothing that anybody can really do about that. If America couldn't stop it, then nobody can. So they already have that. They'll just keep trying to achieve the rest of their goals through military means as well, including they might not be able to get reparations from America if they walked away, or if we walked away, but they could potentially get reparations from Israel if Israel starts running out of missile interceptors, or if America says we need this to stop because we're not going to give Israel any more missile interceptors. Then maybe they could get those like reparations that they think they earn. I think that's the only thing that they really haven't achieved out of their main desires, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, who knows what's going to happen. But I would say if America left, though, obviously that would then the oil prices and gas prices would be, they would be bad for a long time, until all of those Gulf states made deals with Iran to, move all of their military bases, or like get rid of all of American military bases, until the Gulf states all made agreements like regarding the Strait of Hormuz, like how much they're going to pay Iran to go through it. Like, until that happens, the price of oil would be high for like a long time. And that's even just excluding the already current, like, just physical damage that the oil production plants have taken, which would mean like we're going to see, even if everything went back to perfectly normal, right now, it would still be like 3-4 months until oil like prices actually came back down. So yeah, we're going to be experiencing this for a while. Really makes you wonder why we did it.
Prolonged attacks. This is something that specifically benefits Iran, and they have pretty significant leverage in terms of being able to buy time to resupply and incorporate other actors in the region. So Iran's long-term strategy is ultimately, as we've known, they dragging things on and bleeding regional countries dry across various industries, which, whether it's oil, tourism included. So I think it's a paramount area that we're not seeing necessarily any defined outcomes still, and I don't know when we will, or what type of outcome that'll be once we do hear about it.
Yeah, so as we leave and we continue with the CBS Evening News, J.D. Simpkins, it seemed like it was just an update. It was vague and it was surprising for the president. So, J.D., thank you so much. Yep. Appreciate that and your time.
Hey, yeah, I agree. It was vague and boring. I'm used to my big, beautiful boy being more lively, giving me some more new information, but just a whole lot of nothing.